Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my channel, Do Ministry Gaming, and today we are going to do yet another test or experiment. Today, we are going to run 50 Simulacrum maps. Now, 50 Simulacrum maps is worth about 33 to 35 exiles in today's prices, 60 to 65 chaos per map, which has been about that price for the last few weeks now. So that is a pretty stable price for this map, and we are going to see at the end of it just how profitable it can be. Now, I will be running this map with my Instacking Wander character that I've been playing over the last week or so on stream. And if you're curious about that build, I will have a build guide for that on the channel. So make sure you keep your eye open for that if it's not already out by the time you watch this video. The next is these maps takes me about 20 minutes to complete each. So this will probably take me about 16 to 17 hours to do, which will be a bit of a grind. But as usual, we are going to track all the results on a spreadsheet. We're going to track all the notable drops. We're going to track the total value at the end of all this, and we're going to see just how profitable farming this map can be. So I've got 17 hours ahead of me. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, everybody, I have done the 50 Simulacrum maps, and boy, did that take a long time. I started watching Game of Thrones when I started it. I am a third of the way through season 3 now. I'm almost at the Red Wedding. That's how long it took. And boy, was it a boring experience as well. I don't think I've done anything as boring as this. Maybe Delve is probably the only other thing in the game that I find more boring than running Simulacrum maps. And I'll tell you the reason why. The reason is, you don't get a lot of super exciting drops frequently. Okay, you do get some excitement, like voices, for example. I'll talk about that in a sec here, but you're not regularly getting the swing sound. It doesn't happen all that often, so it's not really that exciting. So maybe I'll talk more about that as I go through it. The analysis is always, it's the same as usual. I've got a table here, which I'll start with. This basically is 25 maps per color, and some basic information is map number, notable drops, and the excellence value. Excellence being the overlay that calculates the value of what you have in your stash tab. So I store, each run in a stash tab basically, and I took the value. And so the reason I say it's not that exciting is, first of all, the notable drops. There's not that many. I got four exalted drops in 17 hours of farming. I can get 4 exalted drops in almost anything else I do in this game in 17 hours of farming versus a simulacrum. So that wasn't all that exciting. Otherwise, there's really nothing that really gets you all that excited. I got very lucky, I think, on map 2, dropping a nice div card, Love Through Ice, which sells about 5 exalts. But then otherwise, the string sounds are really just the breach stones and the voices. And now I'll talk about the voices a little bit here. Voices can be very exciting. I mean, really, the primary reason you farm these maps, at least at this point in the league, when none of the other uniques are worth anything. Now, I know earlier in the league, the other uniques are worth something. For example, the Salem Helm, I remember early in the league, they were selling for 7 exalts. I bought one myself. And so early in the league, these maps maybe have a lot more value to them than they do now. It can be more exciting because the other uniques are actually worth something. But outside of that now, only the voices are any exciting. And then, Megalomaniac, you can get lucky on getting a nice one there that could sell, but chances are they're not going to be that great. But in the 50 maps, I dropped 4 voices. They were all 7 passive voices. And so, I'm not sure if this is a good drop or a bad drop in terms of the number of voices that I got in 50 maps. I've been trying to search the forums for an actual drop rate. I can't seem to find one. But just from other people's experiences, I've seen a lot of people who've dropped worse than 4 in 50. So it seems like this might actually be slightly above average, if not right around average. So I got 4 voices. And just to give you an idea of how crummy it is for voices, in terms of expectations, I got the little table down here, and as to the weight of the different voices, as you probably already know, there's 4 different types of voices I can drop: a 1 passive, a 3 passive, a 5 passive, and 7 passive. Now these numbers add up to 1,000. Okay. So basically, I'll give you a percentage here. I think it does anyway. Yeah, it does. So basically, I'll start with the 7 passive. 7 passives have a weighting of 670 over 1,000. Basically, 67% of the time when you drop a voices, it's going to be a 7 passive. You're already not dropping them that regularly in these maps. 4 out of 50 maps, and 67% of the time, it's going to be 7-stat voices. 5-stat voices are about 30% drop rate. And then when you get to something that's actually something usable or good, three passive voices, 2.5% drop rate when you drop one. Okay, again, the drop itself is already pretty rare. And then when you get one, you get a 2.5% chance for it to be a 3 passive. That's why this one is, I think, current market rate maybe around 150 exalts, something like that. So quite expensive because rightfully so, very rare. And then there's the 1-stat voices. Don't ever expect this to drop. They sell for a mirror to a mirror and a half right now, and rightfully so. They might actually be more rare than a mirror. I haven't done the math on it. But when you get a rare voices, 4 out of 50 maps, 4 out of 17 hours of farming, there's only a 0.5% chance that it will be a 1-stat voices. Okay, super, super rare, which is why it's not at all very exciting to farm these maps. You know, even when a voices drop, it's hard to get excited. I mean, you do every time. You're like, oh, let's go check it out. And no, sorry. So, you know, that's kind of my experience with the Simulacrum map so far. I've got a chart here over here just to outline sort of the profits. Now, I got to say, they were profitable maps. I'm not discounting that at all. You do make some good money on this, as you can see here. The orange line basically represents for each of my runs the break-even cost of the maps, which is 65 chaos. And then I made profit on every map. Quite a bit, actually, if you go straight by the excellence value. And this is where I need to talk a little bit about it, you know, in terms of excellence. You know, excellence, you don't always necessarily realize all the value of excellence. In most cases, you don't, okay? In most cases, you want to discount that depending on what you're actually dropping. You know, you want to discount that maybe like 30%, 50%, something like that. But in this case, even less so. And the reason is most of the value that comes from these drops in these maps are very medium to mediocre, small drops in large quantities. What I mean is, you know, screaming essences that large enough number actually add up to some relevant value. You know, polished scarabs, you know, not that many gilded, just really polished scarabs, you know, that add up to a lot as well. And then, you know, like, just a whole lot of medium stuff like maps and fossils, like dense fossils and stuff, you know, like just very like mediocre, like crummy stuff. But you get a lot of them, and you get a big variety. That's the other issue is you get a whole track of everything, which is actually kind of annoying because you're not going to sell them. Oh, I guess also the catalysts and stuff as well. You know, that all that kind of stuff. You know, just a whole bunch of low value stuff, and because you get so much of it, there's some value to it. So, you know, it's tough. It's tough, I think, out of everything I've done so far this league in terms of mapping strategies. I think this is the hardest thing to actually realize the entirety of the excellence value. And so I take these bars with a grain of salt, but you're making profit. And if you look here, as usual, I do have a summary table here. You know, if you take these numbers at face value, which again, I would not, but if you do, you know, like everything else, I've made 13,000 chaos in the 50 simulacrum maps. They cost me about 3,250 chaos, so about that 33 exalt range. So I actually made 100 exalts in 17 hours. So making this actually about a 6 exalt per hour mapping strategy. Okay, so I'm not discounting simulacrums at all. I actually think they can be very profitable. And like I mentioned before, especially early in the league, if you can get this done early. I know the maps cost more earlier too. They were probably like in the 1 to 2x range first, you know, 2, maybe even 3 weeks of the league. But you're also getting value out of other drops like Salem helms. I think maybe I dropped 3 or 4 of those. And those I know were selling for about 6 to 7 exalts early in the league because I bought one for my Bleedbow character and there were a ton of other Bleed Bow characters, League starters, very popular League starter. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a guide together ahead of 3.14 for a solid Bleed Bow Gladiator, or a Deadeye as well is going to be a very good option now with the changes. So if you're looking for playing Bleed Bow next league, you can check that out on my channel in the next coming weeks here, probably a week or two before the next league actually starts, so you can start doing your homework. But to conclude, I'm probably not going to continue to do this as any form of mapping strategy for any league, just because it's not really my cup of tea. I found it quite boring, just like Delve, and I know there are a lot of people who like both of these things. And so, it's not my cup of tea, but that's not to say that you shouldn't do it. If these are things that you enjoy doing, you absolutely 100% should. I've shown here that you can make a profit from it, and probably even more so earlier in the league. There's actually very few things I'm finding that you can do in this game that doesn't generate profit. And actually, everything I've tested so far has come out, fairly balanced actually in terms of difficulty versus reward and profit. So, if you haven't seen some of my other tests and analysis and experiments, make sure you go and check those out. But this, if it floats your boat, is absolutely something worth doing, I would say. So I'll wrap it up at that. Thank you everybody so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe as usual. I also stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Times are in the description below. Come and hang out. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.